Gun Talk is heard Sundays here on KEEL from 1 till 4, and its host, Tom Gresham, is here for a couple of seconds. Hey, Mr. Tom, how are you today?
Well, I am heartbroken and sick, and I'm angry about
Tom, I said to Erin in the first segment, I'm just tired. I'm literally just tired. And I said, why the fact that we have to say they all bother me so much, but this one just hits my heart in a way that nothing else like this has. How do you feel the same way?
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that. I've gotten that from several people. It's just, this thing broke while we were on the air with Gun Talk yesterday, and we just basically stopped the show and started covering this. And Michelle, our call screener, was just visibly shaken by the whole thing. And it's affected people that way. It's one of those deals of, there's a lot we don't know yet about this. And of course, it took mere moments for several Democrat Congress people to pull out their prefabricated gun control laws and say, oh, good, we have another opportunity to be political, which just makes me want to throw up.
Yeah.
Just the raw partisanship, political agenda of it all. But, we're starting to get a little bit of information this morning, a little bit more.
Let me ask you about because you've got the folks saying he shouldn't have been legally allowed to buy a gun, which he bought a gun in April of 2016 from an Academy Sports, but he had a history that should have prohibited him from. Do we have some cracks in that law on these background checks? Is that going to be a little bit of an issue here?
Oh, sure. Whatever we find out is going to be an issue. We're very early on, and what people need to understand, and I know you guys know this, but when you buy a firearm from Academy or any other gun store, you have to get the permission of the FBI for every single purchase. Mm-hmm. So he had to go through a background check with the FBI on this. He was not on a list that would stop it. That's about all we know about that. So if you bought it from a dealer, the FBI had to buy off on that. So there's that. I would like to pivot for just a second because, we're starting to hear, he had the same buzzwords, AR-15 assault type rifle, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but you know what? So did the good guy who saved all the lives, the neighbor who came out with his AR-15 and started shooting at the gunman and caused him to drop his rifle and stop killing people.
Because the gunman could have been headed to another church. We don't know, right?
Well, he wasn't through shooting people in that church. There were a whole bunch of people in that church that did not get shot because a good guy had a gun.
It was a point that a friend of mine made last night. If there had been an assault weapons ban, as those on the left like to phrase it, if there had been an assault weapons ban, the guy who saved numerous lives wouldn't have been able to do so because he wouldn't have had his legal weapon. Bad guys get guns, Tom. They just do. They don't pay attention to the law.
Well, guys, in Louisiana, we have a problem with our law. I'm just going to pivot to that because, we have your concealed carry permit. You're prohibited from carrying in a church. Well, that's just stupid. Because these are the people who have been vetted, had a background check, been photographed, been fingerprinted, been trained, and you've got this law that says, okay, the good guys can't carry in a church where you may need it. The bad guys certainly can because there's nothing you can do to prohibit that. Our legislature needs to get busy on that and change that because if somebody in the church had been able to act, could have stopped it more quickly. Basically, it's a stopwatch at that point. They call it the stopwatch of death. That's what the police call it.
And in Texas, there would have surely been somebody in that church with a gun. You
would think so. But not necessarily.
If it was legal.
And I don't know what the Texas law is. I just know in Louisiana, you're prohibited from doing that. And that's just dumb. I will tell you, I'm not going, with very few exceptions, I don't go anywhere where I can't carry my pistol because I know I may be the one who can save myself, my family, or the good people around me.
Tom, let me ask you this, and I know this is not your field, But don't we always focus too much on guns? And let's focus on the mental health, because you ask the experts and they say almost 100% of these mass shooters have mental health issues. And we talk so much and spend so much dang time talking about the guns and gun laws, and we don't talk about mental health and how much we are neglecting our mentally ill.
Thank you for bringing that up. And, to be specific, what happened was a couple of decades ago, we decided we would mainstream people. We don't want to call them out. And now with the various HIPAA-type laws and other laws, it's very difficult, even when you know someone has serious mental problems, to get help for that person if that person isn't looking for help himself or herself. And as a result, I don't know what the percentage is, but an awful lot of the homeless folks have mental problems. We ignore this, and you make a great point, Erin, that for whatever reason, we end up talking about guns, and I'll tell you why it is. It's because we have politicians for whom the control of the people through guns, through getting rid of guns, is their first priority. I mean, I firmly believe that Hillary Clinton lost the election because of her position on guns. She beat that drum everywhere she could, and yet these people people are literally still bleeding, and the politicians just are reaching around to grab whichever gun control law that they want, and they pull it out again and use the opportunity for their raw partisanship and political agenda, and it is just sickening. And that's why we end up talking about it, Erin, is because the politicians jump on, and we have to say, people, are you crazy?
Well, it's getting
I
ready.
wish more people would say that.
It's getting ready to start all over again, isn't it?
Well, yes, it is. But in this case, we at least have what we have always been saying for all this time that so many on the left make fun of. The only way to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. This guy would have continued to shoot people and kill people had there not, until the first person with a gun shows up. People say, well, that's the job of the police. I say, you know what? I don't care what kind of clothes the person's wearing, because that's the only difference.